There was a silent rule that echoed across forgotten battlefields and encrypted war files: never strike first against humans. No one knew who wrote it first or where it began, but those who survived the ancient wars remembered it. Some claimed it was myth, just fear turned into a phrase. But deep in the Zelkar Dominion's war archives, even their oldest admirals whispered it behind closed doors. Yet when Commander Vurayan took charge, he dismissed it as weakness. To him, humans were scattered and disorganized, more focused on trade and exploration than war. When the Dominion scanners detected a lone Terran science outpost in the disputed zone of Sector 7B, Vurayan saw an opportunity to send a message to the entire galaxy. Without warning, they launched an attack swift, brutal, final. The station was wiped from space in seconds. No retaliation came, no messages, no distress signals. Just silence. The kind of silence that spreads across the stars like a shadow. On the bridge of Vurayan's warship, the crew celebrated. But far away, beyond any known system, something ancient stirred. The humans had seen the strike. They remembered the rule. And now they were coming. The celebration aboard the Zelkar flagship didn't last long. Hours after the human science station was destroyed, strange signals began appearing near the edge of the sector, faint at first, like whispers and static. The Dominion scanners struggled to lock on, detecting shapes that shouldn't be there, readings that made no sense. Then, one by one, black Terran ships began to emerge from the void. Completely silent, no ID codes, no heat signatures, ghosts in the dark. They didn't move in formation like normal fleets. They drifted like predators, surrounding the Zelkar ships without a single shot fired. Commander Vurayan ordered full alert, demanding answers, but every scan returned the same chilling result. The humans had somehow jammed hyperspace itself. No ship could jump. No one could run. Panic spread like fire. Within minutes, entire Zelkar vessels vanished, no explosions, no debris, just sudden silence. Screams echoed over open comms, voices begging for mercy, then cutting off mid-sentence. The crew finally understood what the ancient warning meant. This wasn't a war, it was a hunt. And the hunters had arrived. Vurayan stared at the dark screen ahead, his confidence replaced by dread. He had struck first. Now, escape would not be possible. Aboard the lead Terran ship, the T.S.V. Revenant, Commander Rhea Carter stood before a darkened tactical screen, her eyes scanning the silent stars. Around her, the crew worked without speaking, each one trained for exactly this moment. Protocol Omega-9 had been activated, a code buried deep in Terran defense networks. Unofficially, soldiers called it the Predator Protocol, a direct response to unprovoked attacks against human lives. It wasn't about justice. It was about survival through dominance. The Revenant and its sister ships had been built for stealth, precision, and psychological warfare. Rhea's voice broke the silence. Zelkar fired first. This is a sanctioned response. No one nodded. They already knew. The AI systems mapped the Dominion's weak points in real time: fuel relays, command ships, sensor hubs. Within hours, those targets vanished, cut off, blinded, isolated. Rumors of human infiltrators among the Zelkar fleets began to spread, and commanders started turning on each other. The chaos was intentional. Humanity had evolved past brute force. Now, they broke empires from the inside out. And the Revenant was the first blade. Rhea watched the stars flicker as another Dominion cruiser disappeared without a sound. "They should have listened," she whispered. "We don't chase. We hunt." The Red Veil Nebula was the last hope of the Zelkar Dominion. Surrounded by swirling cosmic clouds that jammed most scanners, it was chosen as the final battleground, a trap set with desperation, not confidence. High Chancellor Sivek ordered every remaining warship, nearly 1,000 strong, to gather there for one last stand. The plan was simple: lure the Terran fleet in, spring a gravitational snare, and overwhelm them with raw numbers. Inside the command chamber of the Dominion flagship, Sivek stood tall before his officers, declaring this moment as the turning point of history. But as hours passed with no human approach, unease crept into the crew. No blips. No signals. Just silence. Then, the nebula flickered. Ships, blacker than space, emerged from within the very clouds the Zelkar thought hid them. They hadn't arrived. They had been there all along, waiting, watching, listening. The trap had already closed, and the prey was not Terran. The first wave of human strikes came from every direction, perfectly timed and executed. Communication lines were jammed instantly. Dominion ships began vanishing, cut apart with surgical precision. Entire squadrons turned to vapor before they could fire a single shot. Panic turned into chaos. The gravitational snare meant to hold the humans now kept the Zelkar locked in place, unable to escape or regroup. Friendly fire began as commanders lost control of their fleets. The nebula's red hue darkened as burning debris scattered in every direction. On board the Revenant, Commander Rhea Carter watched the battle unfold through a cold, analytical lens. 17 minutes, the ship's AI reported. That's all it took for the Zelkar fleet to collapse. Civic's final message, a desperate plea for surrender, was intercepted and ignored. Humanity had already answered the only question that mattered with action, not words. By the time the smoke cleared, not a single Dominion vessel remained. The stars above the Red Veil were silent again, but now they carried a different kind of message. One not spoken, but felt. The galaxy had just witnessed the fall of an empire, not from invasion, but from a mistake. The mistake of firing first. And for the Zelkar, that mistake would never be repeated. The Galactic Council gathered in silence, their towering chamber filled with the tension of those who had just witnessed something they could never unsee. Every member species, from the ancient Virene elders to the cold-blooded T-Rayak syndicates, had reviewed the footage uncut, unedited, and undeniable. The destruction of the Zelkar fleet was not just military, it was surgical, psychological, and absolute. No survivors, no prisoners, no warnings. The Dominion, once feared across systems, was now reduced to a name spoken only in whispers. Delegates argued behind closed doors, but no one dared to suggest retaliation. The humans had not invaded worlds, taken territory, or demanded resources. They had simply responded. One Terran science outpost was destroyed, and in return, an empire fell. There were no public speeches from Earth, no threats, no offers. Only one message had been left behind on a dead Zelkar relay station. They struck first. We ended it. The meaning was clear. The humans were not conquerors. They were watchers, waiting. And if provoked, they would not chase. They would finish. In a rare, unanimous vote, the Council passed what would become the most feared interstellar law. No species shall engage Terran vessels unless directly fired upon. Unofficially, it was known by another name. The ancient warning, once whispered and ignored, now engraved in policy, never strike first against humans. Across the galaxy, military doctrines were rewritten. Simulation programs were updated. Entire academies added new curriculum focused on Terran history and strategy. The fear wasn't just of their weapons, but of their silence, their precision, and the calm with which they executed judgment. Even species that once mocked humanity now spoke of them with caution and respect. Some called them monsters in suits, others called them necessary balance. But no one, not anymore, called them weak. Somewhere beyond the edges of charted space, the Terran fleet disappeared once more, as silently as it had arrived. They left behind no wreckage, no message, no ambassador. Only a galaxy changed forever, and a law that would never be broken again. Because now, everyone understood. When it comes to humans, escaping isn't part of the plan.